a gift from God to man, a reflection of his fellowship with all of his creation.
An intimate encounter with loved ones and their faults, still a source for comfort, but most of all for love.
It's the origin of innocence, the birthplace of trust, a sanctuary from the cruel and unjust.
An inevitable union of different generations, brought to meet each other through the miracle of life. We believe in the family. We believe in the family. Let's find our place at the altar, consecrate our lives through the morning and evening sacrifice. We are bound,
We're bound together by the family.
the cords of love grow stronger through our unity.
By the grace of the Father,
The Spirit and the Son, we believe
we believe.
in the family.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. We are offspring of Abraham by spiritual adoption. We were separated from the fold by our transgression.
But the Father in heaven has given us His Son, and through His brotherhood we are redeemed.
Oh, it's a privilege to be a part of God's family.
And with all our hearts, we want the world to share with us this joy.
Let the circle be unbroken. Let the prodigal
Well, of course, you know what, when you say that God made such a lovely institution called the family, it is not as simple as, we take it. If you notice, every single attack that you see in this world, it's against the family. Every single attack is against the family. And, we have used each other as pawns in the whole war against the family. It is not. I know that sometimes people just see something as black and white. It's a bad woman, it's a bad man, that's a bad child, that's a out of order, those are out of order children. Those people are just disrespectful to each other. And I know it's just black and white when you look at it, Lady Elise. But when you look at the institution called the family that God has created and instituted, it's for the holistic health of the human family or families. Because it says, while the family is one single unit, many family makes up a community of persons. And the community is what everyone lives in. Now, can you imagine, and you don't have to imagine very much these days, seeing a community that is at odds with all the families are at odds with each other within the community. What do you see when you see that? The same one. It's the same one. It's the same one. It's the same one. Right.
I don't know if the sound is coming on. All right, so we're gonna have to check the sound on that one. Um, Mikey G, it's showing. The video is showing. The video is showing. The video is obvious, but let's and perhaps we don't need to hear the sound. Yes, Mikey G.
Well, all right. Let's see if we can take it from there. Let's see if we can take it from
Look,
there.
you can see what's happening. There's an altercation, yes, between a member and the pastor. Wow, yes. And of course, it got it got to that point where, of course, there was a physical confrontation.
Yes, I saw this thing so circulating
Yeah, it's
And
actually our viewers are watching now. They're seeing it on the screen. Yes.
it's very disturbing, Lady Elise. It's a very disturbing thing. If I tell you how disturbing that thing is for me, it's unbelievable. It's unreal. I say to persons who are engaged in, you know, the whole Christian hemisphere.
Yes.
It troubles the minds.
Look, I mean, as a Christian, as a Christian who attends church, and we are brothers and sisters. There are so many denominations. We had this discussion. We have so many denominations. There in the church, if you're looking on the screen and you're looking and watching, you see a cross and you see the name of the church and you see the persons dressed appropriately. They are in headwear and long dress, and the pastors and the members, they're dressed properly. They look the role and they are in the church of God.
But
And
do you think if they wear shorter dresses, it might make a better approach?
no, okay, I don't know about that. Like,
I know head wrap, no headbands and stuff like that. Because what I'm saying is this, most persons go to that right away.
yes,
It's better than if you don't do all of these things, because it would be much better if you just shut down the churches.
yes,
Because if church becomes this thing now, shut them down, because
yes,
don't make any sense. You realize now that it's a fallacy. Somebody is just making up the story as they go along.
yes,
Making a mockery of something that is holy, and why not shut down everything and just everybody just live how they want to live? Just go about your own business, man, and stop making people come and tell you that you must do this and do that and go serve God. And why not? And this could be the direction, the conversation.
yes, yes. So if the listeners who have listened to and watched that conversation, even don't hear the audio, you don't need to hear all the audio. I mean, but you would have seen the pastor and the member in a physical altercation.
Fight.
No, we are humans. We are humans, and these are the evidences that persons use when they say, "You go to church."
But here's the thing. Every time we have these conversations,
yes, who are the church? We are the church.
we have the conversation in the absence.
Yes.
In the absence of somebody saying, it's like in the absence of understanding that there's a bigger enemy, or there's a puppet master in the background of all this puppetry that's going on.
Did somebody say they're not hearing? Lady Elise, they're not hearing? I hope they're hearing now. Yes, let's see. Yes, I think they're probably hearing now, because I just tested stream, and of course we are hearing. But our financial advisor is waiting to join us, so we'll have a conversation. Go ahead, Mikey G.
What I'm saying is this, that there are times when we find ourselves at a place we forget that there's a puppet master at work right here, who is actually pulling all the strings.
Yes.
And we focus on people more than focus on the invisible warfare that goes on in the background.
Yes.
If you could look at the smiles on the enemy's face, seeing those persons disgracing themselves before the world, to show how irrelevant the church is, how unimportant these things are, and to prove to everyone that what we are doing is just a fallacy, it's a falsehood, it's something that it's like a mockery. So what he has done is make mockery of God's holy thing. Now, I don't care which kind of church you're in, I don't care which denomination, and in fact, I'd even go to as far as say that we have no persons coming up to say that they are non-denominational. Right? I don't know what that means, actually, because I don't understand the concept of that. Up until, from I've been hearing it, I don't know what the concept is. It means what? Anything you think about it goes for you? You know? I mean, that's what comes to my mind, because there must be some truths that you hold true to while you form this organization. There must be a constitution that exists, that create a mindset of how you're going to approach this religious belief system. It can't be just anything goes. That means then there's Satan full control of what you're doing. Because there must be some level of constitutional integrity that exists for you to actually form these organizations. And we're looking at the puppet master feeling joyful and happy, seeing the squabble amongst membership and leadership and everything that goes on that creates the narratives that we now see. And so we must see the bigger picture as Christians. But unless it's a bigger conversation, we'll go to our financial report, our financial advisor. We can come back and probably look at it a little bit more. I think we have probably started the conversation a little late, so we can't get to really, really form those very valid points that we need to make. But I guess as we go forward, we possibly can drop a few in there. Hopefully somebody can benefit. Not to say, because what we don't want people to think that we are saying, and let me just put a disclaimer there, that God's church is not supposed to be. You understand? That God's church is not supposed to be. We're not saying that. But we are saying, look at the nonsense that's going on in the claiming of what God's church should look like. We want to identify these things, but we want to look at it. And we ask the question, is God's church, is Christianity relevant today? Or is it important for us to be even Christians anymore?
Boy, I believe that it is important for us to be Christians. And, when we think about it, Mikey G, and when Jesus, we see examples in the Bible when Christ even came on earth and the persons were selling in the church. And he said, my house is a house of prayer, but you have made it a den of thieves.
All right.
So
here is the context of the conversation for those who are listening this morning and had a problem with church and had a problem with the people who go there. Yes, you must understand that there is an enemy plotting in the background that would make a den of thieves instead of God's house of prayer.
Yes.
So I guess when you look at that, you might could associate that Bible verse with what you're looking at the screen.
Well, of course, what I'm looking at is actually getting the financial advisor up and running. So I am getting his photo up on the screen as we speak. And of course, he's going to be sharing with us this morning what he thinks we need. Should we purchase? Should we rent? Should we, what should we do? Good morning, and welcome to the breakfast hour.
Good morning.
It's always such a privilege and a pleasure to have you joining us today. And I know you're going to be sharing such a wealth of information with our listeners and viewers this morning. There are persons tuning live on YouTube this morning, and I know you'll be answering the question for them. Should we rent? Should we purchase? And
Well,
of
for
course,
me,
yes,
I'm interested in this conversation, because it's a very baffling one that many persons, and I've had so many different thoughts on the idea, of renting or purchasing. And what does it mean? Society even come to the analogy that people who rent is far less valuable than those who purchase. And today, I think this question that I would have had in my mind for many years will be answered today by a financial advisor this morning.
All right. Good morning, Lady G, Lady Elisa, and Mikey G. Wow, I mixed that up. Whoa. All right. So today we are talking about to rent or buy. And why is this such an important decision? The truth is, let us start from the time you get out of school. Most of us as young adults wanted to get out of our parents' place. And for the first few years, we wanted that freedom to go where we want to go, to learn new places, to travel, to test the waters. So, really and truly, this topic may not appeal to that generation or those persons in their early 20s. This would more appeal to someone now who's trying to look for some amount of stability and trying to make up their mind where they want to go. There's more than just financial factors when you make a decision like this. It is also about lifestyle and your career aspirations. So, what I'd like to do is to offer up some pros and cons for both renting or purchasing your own property. So let's look first at the benefits of renting. On hand, I made a note of three things. One, flexibility. Now, if you're in a situation where your career is fluid, and I can speak of some careers immediately, you are a pastor, traveling pastor, evangelist, you are a member of the military services, you are in the police force, and you're not yet settled. You may find yourself in a situation where you are called upon to move from one location to the next on a moment's notice. You will then recognize that there is flexibility that you need in order to make sure that you can move and relocate as necessary. So that's one of the first benefits of renting, the flexibility it offers. Within 30 days, you can tell your landlord, hey, listen, you know, I have to pack up and move. Here's my last rent, etc., etc., and you move on with life. You may also have a particular situation, again with flexibility, where you may move to a particular location because of its geographical importance at that point in time. And a case in point, you may wish to move to Florida, or relocate to Florida, find a job in Florida. Why? Because your children are now attending university in Florida, and you feel that it is just best to have all your children in one location at the same time because of the cost savings that it may occur. So that is one first and very important benefit. The second benefit is your lower initial cost. Rental usually requires 1 month's deposit and 1 month rent in advance. Sometimes they ask for 2. So that alone, if you think about it, the cost of rental for maybe a 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, depends on your location, maybe as small as $3,000. You're looking at buying that same home that is $300,000, and you're required to find 10%. That's $30,000 immediately. Which one is easier? So that initial cost of getting shelter, which is what your whole purpose of getting this property is, will be easier. The third benefit that I have here listed is maintenance. As a renter, the burden is on the landlord to take care of the property. Well, at least the major things. So you have tiles falling off in the bathroom, or cracks in the wall, a burst pipe, or something to that effect. These repairs and maintenance issues are usually taken care of by the landlord. You as a renter just need to report it, and if the landlord is not addressing the problems, you can move on. Again, talking about flexibility there. Now, some of the cons to renting is limited control. You may be in a situation where you're in an apartment, but the owner says, hey, listen, I need the front bedroom for myself. I'm not going to be living there, but I need access to the house so that I can come in and take things from time to time. Control. You may not be able to make significant changes to the home. For example, painting. I've seen a situation already when the house was painted gray. Lovely place, but it was not suitable for the person. They didn't like the whole gray idea. The seat at the office, they want to come home to a more lively environment. That expense of repainting, if he so desired, would have to be on the tenant, not on the landlord, because he had already painted the place. The second drawback is rental increases year on year. Rent prices usually increase. In most countries, there's a cap on residential rentals of usually anywhere between 5 and 7%. Maybe in some countries it can go up as much as 10, and I'm sure in others there's no limit. However, on residential properties, there is usually some cap on your annual increase. And landlords have the capacity to do that right up to the limit. You will find yourself starting out with $1,000 apartment, and within 3 years, you are now looking at $1,340. So you have to ensure that you are able to look at it over time, because sometimes the rate of increase of the rent does not keep pace with your income, and therefore it can impact your long-term affordability. And finally, of course, there's no equity in it. All that money that you're paying towards that rent goes into the owner's pockets for him to decide how to use it, whether he wants to improve the property, purchase another one, or just spend it on himself. You, on the other hand, will not be personally owning any of that property, and therefore you will not have any equity no matter how long you live in that property. After 10 years, you tell the landlord that I'm packing up to leave, and that's it. That 10 years of money that you have put down there has provided you with shelter for those 10 years, but has not provided you with any equity. So this moves us on now to the benefits of purchasing. And since we ended with equity, let us start there. Equity in real estate grows in two ways. One, the property itself appreciates in value. The second part is that as you pay down your mortgage, you have more equity or cash in the property. So let us assume a 20-year mortgage. After 10 years, chances are you'd have paid up about half of the cost of the property, the amount that you borrowed. So again, looking at a $300,000 property, you may have paid in about $150,000 over that period of time. And therefore, that money that you would have paid in over that time would have meant that you only owe $150,000 on your mortgage. In addition to that, as I stated before, that very same property may now have moved up in value from $300,000 to, let us make an assumption, $400,000. So your net worth based on that property alone would be 400 minus 150, meaning that you now have a net worth or equity in the property. Should say net worth because you have other expenses, but equity in the property of $250,000, which, if called upon, you can use to do other things. Usually with mortgages, you have predictable payments. Yes, there are flexible mortgages and interest rates can, when they go up, can impact your monthly payments. But for the most part, you can predict what your mortgage will be. There's a lot of fixed rate mortgages that are out there that happened after the 2008 crash in the United States. And that has also leaked into the Caribbean, where persons are looking for fixed rate mortgages at lower interest rates. And the good thing about even some of these flexible interest rates is that they tend to be fixed for a short term, maybe 5 years, and then flexible afterwards. So you can always renegotiate your mortgage with the very same lender at that point in time if the interest rate has gone up and therefore your monthly payment has gone up. And of course, you have the freedom to personalize. So you can change out your your paint, the color of your paint in your house. You can change the fixtures in your house. You may decide to modernize because you have old wooden cupboards, right? You may decide to go glass, just saying. So you can have a more modern look. I saw someone in an apartment that they purchased. It's a 30-year-old apartment. And immediately they moved out the louvers and put in aluminum framing and therefore modernize the look of that apartment. That can be done only if you own. Now, of course, the drawbacks of owning is your high upfront cost. Many times it takes several years for you to come up with that deposit. And you will also realize that as you save towards that deposit on your home, you realize that home prices are also going up. So it's almost like it's a never-ending catching up game. You're trying to find that $30,000, and it's difficult for you to catch it because by the time you have the $30,000, the price of that house is now 400,000.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a real thing that we are facing here in the Cayman Islands. The cost of property, the cost to own property. If you purchased last year, or even the year before, I had a client I was discussing something with, and she said she bought her property for $80,000 some years ago, and now at the latest valuation, it's 200 and odd $1,000. That's the value of it. So, yeah, cost is going up.
Exactly. So if you were to purchase that property now, you'd have to be looking for $20,000, whereas when she was purchasing it, it was $8,000. And I can almost bet you that her income has not increased that significantly over the time. If she's a salary paid worker, right? Now, in addition to that drawback of that upfront cost, we also have to look at maintenance and repairs.
Yes.
You are now your own landlord, and therefore all these breaks in your cracks in the wall, your pipes bursting in the bathroom, etc., you are now going to be responsible for that. Your regular maintenance, your annual painting, or getting, the lawn care, etc., will be all up to you.
Yeah.
Right? This can be costly, especially if it's a major repair.
Yes.
And of course, when it comes to moving, you have no reduced flexibility. I've had persons who have had to leave better opportunities elsewhere, and their house is not rented. They still have to maintain it, and they sometimes in a particular case they want almost a fireside sale because the persons who were purchasing the property knew that the owner was migrating. They forced their hand to sell. Yes, it was a cash sale, but the point is they had to pay almost 15% or accept 15% less. In addition to that, every time you sell your property, you now have to pay fees. You have to pay the legal fees. You have to pay your broker fees, your real estate broker fees, which can add up to another 10% of the value of the land. So immediately you are looking at a $200,000 property, and immediately 10% of that is not yours. you may net out at $180,000. So, and worse, if you now need to take that money and purchase something elsewhere, what do? You cannot buy a comparable property, meaning you just have to find that extra $20,000 now to put down, in addition to, right? So you may end up having to take a mortgage for maybe another $50,000, $60,000 because you do not have enough cash to buy that new property that you're getting yourself into. Now, what are some of the things that can influence your decision? Speaking about the high upfront cost, it means that your financial readiness, which is why I said I'm now speaking to maybe person in their late 20s, upward. It takes sometimes upward of 5 years for you to come up with that deposit, unless friends and family will assist you by helping you to put all that money. So if you do not have a stable financial foundation, it is very difficult for you to own that home. You'll also have to look at things like, especially if you're going for a mortgage, your credit score. How much money do you have already in your emergency? Do you have the deposit on your home? Do you have the legal fees and other fees that are required as the purchaser? Because remember, it goes both ways.
Right.
Can your income support the annual property taxes, the insurance, and the maintenance on your property? So you have to be financially prepared for that property that you're going into. I have seen too many people go and buy the property and they cannot maintain it to the level that it ought to be.
Right.
Because of they were not financially ready for this or for that property. Lifestyle and career. You have to look at your current lifestyle. Do I want to live in an apartment? Does it fit my current lifestyle? I may be single today, but I have a girlfriend that I intend to marry within another 2 years. Having getting married in another 2 years, how soon after will I then start having children? Do I purchase a 1-bedroom apartment? No. Or do I go ahead and find a 2-bedroom from today? Do I prefer an apartment versus a unit that is maybe a duplex or a standalone unit that I can have for further expansion if my family goes beyond 2 children, right? Or the 2 of us. So you have to now start looking at what your personal lifestyle will be. Then, of course, you have to now also look at career changes. Am I a doctor? And if I'm a doctor, what is my general career path? Eventually, I may become a surgeon or a consultant.
Right.
Will where I live today be an acceptable norm when I'm able now to purchase a Porsche? You getting me? And will that Porsche be able to stay there? No, I'm talking it into being here now, right? So will that fit into the current place that you are?
Yes.
Or will I have to move again?
Yes.
Right? So we also have to look at it. Upward mobility. Do you have upward mobility?
Yeah.
And I'm not knocking teachers here, no. But I also know some teachers who said they will never be a principal. That is not their career path. And so you have to also look at, okay, if that is not my career path,
What is it?
what does a senior teacher's pay look like?
Yes.
And since that is where I intend to go, I can start looking and saying, okay, me versus me then, or me now versus me in another 10 years.
Yes.
Will this property suit me at that point in time?
Yes.
Again, if you're looking for long-term stability and you're the career person and you know that you're not going to leave from Georgetown ever, you may just decide to buy in Georgetown because Georgetown is up and going,
Yes.
up and running, and chances are
And
it
you
will
don't have the
remain.
traffic of coming in from the east or west
Exactly.
bay. Yes. So, yeah.
And then, of course, your location, location, location. Once you're in real estate, people will tell you that all the while. What are the
Location.
market conditions for the location that you're
Yes,
in?
yes.
No, I personally like the country.
Mm-hmm.
I can work from home.
Right.
I have flexibility in my time.
Yes,
Do I really need to live in the center of the city?
right.
Maybe not. I'm a soldier. I'm a young officer in the army.
Yes,
Do I need at this point in time, even though I have thoughts of getting married eventually, do I need to have a home today in the middle of the city? Or will I move to a base in the Pacific in another year?
right.
Worse if you're in the Navy,
Yes,
right? So we have to look at that. So what are my market conditions today? Some cities, Kingston, Jamaica, Miami, Florida, Georgetown,
yes,
Cayman, Toronto, USA, the rate of increase of the value of those properties tend to outpace the rate of increase elsewhere in the country. You may also find yourself in a situation where you can looking at renting that property so it can then become an investment property. So you can purchase your first property as a one bedroom in the New Kingston area, for example, knowing fully well that this won't do you for you in another 3 to 5 years when you get married and start having children. However, what it does for you is that you now are able to pay your mortgage from the rental income that it can provide versus buying that same home, planning for your family home later on. That is 5 years down the road when you have the deposit today. So you now buy a family home, 3 bedroom in the country, and it's you one living there. And you still have to commute to Kingston. Does that make sense at this point in time? As I say, it is for you to look at. Now, as an investment, if your primary goal is investment, both can work for you. Renters can invest money saved from avoiding a down payment into, buying stocks, bonds, ventures, etc., which can offer much higher returns. So if you're renting with the idea that the differential is to invest, and you're a savvy investor, renting might actually work out for you. And this is where we always talk about our budget. And I hope I'm not going too far out here. Imagine you have a budget, you are bringing an income of $10,000 a month, or your family income is $10,000 a month, right? You and your wife, or you and your spouse. What you may find is that if you rent for $2,000, you now have $8,000 to spend on just the two of you. You may not need another $2,000 to live between food, traveling, utilities, etc. You therefore have $6,000 with which you can use to invest. So if you invest wisely that remainder, you may actually have more income. So your investment income may actually be more than the rental that you're paying out. So it may work out for you. Now, real estate as an investment itself. So if you take in a long-term view, as I had said before, and you said, hey, listen, I'm going to buy that apartment with the intent that 5 years down the road, when I leave that apartment, I can rent it out. It can also that can also work for you. You may also want to look at other properties, because as your equity in that property grows, you can then use that equity, meaning you borrow against it, and to use that borrowed funds to purchase additional properties. So those are other considerations that you can take into being when looking at renting versus buying. Now, some final thoughts. Now, whether you want to rent or buy, the choice is actually totally up to you. But it also depends on your financial situation, your lifestyle goals, and your long-term plans. I can give you personal advice, as I always say, and to speak about it. But those really sums up whether or not we should rent or buy at this point in time?
Renting or buying, for me, I am thinking right now, based on how you put it, I've seen so many persons with so many houses, right? I have quite a few friends. And right now, most persons are displaced from their homes that they're actually originally. You know how painful it is to work all your life building this nice family home, and then at the end of the years pass, and now everybody is somewhere else. And then is stuck with the house. You want to be somewhere else too, but you can't leave because this is where you're planted like a tree. But
I totally understand.
Here is an investment that is very. We would often say that a home is one of the most major investment, the most important investment that any person could make, because it provides that stability that a family or a person would require. But based on this changing environment and this changing world, when you look at that ideology, while purchase may be a good idea, sound like renting, sound like even at some point will be an application that many persons could find more suitable than actually purchasing a home. So with equity involved, like I say, equity involved in the purchase of the home means that at the end of the day you can sell the house and move on to somewhere else and you have some money back. I mean, that's where I look at it. We had a problem in there's this thing on the when you talk about who invests more, and came and have this concept of who is the better investor. So they said that persons who purchase homes are the ones who you want to put on the higher investment list of persons who invest in the country. But here's the trick. The persons who actually buy properties and place it there, when they are leaving, they sell the property, take the money out, and go with their money. But the persons who rent from the persons who own the property there actually have been paying rent for 10 years, 15, 20 years, and they will never get a return on that money coming back to them.
Right.
So, my question would be, and I'd ask my financial advisor this morning, who would be the more to you, based on that concept, who would have invested more in the country, the one who have purchased or the one who have paid rent? That's a question. I'm baffled with that question. I have had my own spin on it. And of course, I'm listening for somebody else's. Of course, I am thinking that I've listened to so many advice already. Why not get one more?
All right, no problem. Let me throw
And just
one
remind you,
one
time
statistic
comes
quick.
up shortly. Yes.
Right, I'll throw out one statistic quick. In Florida, I chose Florida because that's where a lot of renters also are. 71% of households are rented. Are owned. 71% versus 29% are rentals. And to answer your question, what you find is that as times are now changing, you find that persons who own property, hear me now, and use that property as an investment tend to be better off over time. Right? So hear me out now. I have a duplex. I live in one side and I rent out the other side. I rent the other side for $1,500, for example. I am now able to collect $1,500 rent from you, the renter. So my contribution is twofold. One, I have provided space for a renter. And secondly, I am now bringing in additional source of income, almost as if I am an entrepreneur, that I can offset my salary. And if I have enough units like that, after 5 units,
You don't need a
that's
salary.
$6,500. I no longer have to be part of the workforce. so I can now allow somebody else to come in. So I don't know if that answers your question. I'm just saying, just
Here
throw
is
something.
you put a spin on it a while ago when it goes to coming out of the workforce. You just add another value to this whole thing, because there are many persons who here are a lot of young people who are looking for work right now.
Yes.
They are disgusted with the old people. Why they can't dead right now? And it's a big thing, not a joke thing. I'm saying it as it is. Why they can't die right now so they can get the jobs that they have occupied for all their life and don't want to leave. What you just mentioned a while ago is an anxiety that the society faces right now, where jobs are concerned and all of this. And you have just given a very ideal way of alleviating this problem for persons who are actually working as a working person, would find investment that would allow them over time for working so many long periods to then come out of the normal workforce, to allow entry-level persons who would like to come in at an entry level, who then can mushroom into becoming property owners or business owners in other entrepreneurial ways, and become to allow that process to continue spiraling and over time to allow other persons to do the same thing. So you have just done that. But the question I was asking generally in this regard was, who would you say would be the person who would have paid more into a country? You're living in a street. You're living, say for example, you move to the Cayman Islands and you're living there. The person who purchased a home or the person who rented a home. So both persons are living for 20 years, for argument's sake. One purchased a home for 20 years, one rented for 20 years. Which one of those persons would have somewhat invested more in the country that they're living in? The person who rented or the person who actually purchased the property?
All right. So I know you're trying to stick me up with the answer there.
No, I'm not.
I'll say it from this point of view. And it comes back to income. Who is earning more income? And why are they earning that income? So my contribution to society will be repaid to me in my income. My income can then make me decide whether or not I want to stay in Cayman Islands for the long haul or to put my monies in the country of my origin and to purchase that property over there or whatever else, or do some form of enterprise in that country. Right? So that is one way of looking at it. But I guess if you want a direct answer, maybe because of who I am, I always lean to the side of the person who purchases property. And I'll say it to back up my answer, and I have only 1 more or 2 more minutes left. By saying this, by me purchasing a property, I've just paid a lawyer, I've just paid a real estate agent, I have just paid the government their share of taxes, and maybe some other people along the way, maybe some construction workers, a painter, etc., to get the place to my standard, right? So the mere fact of making a purchase has contributed to the economy, to others in the economy. In addition to that, as an investment tool, I have now also provided shelter to somebody else who, at this point in time, cannot, whether it's for personal reasons, altruistic or financial, then I have also now provided shelter for this person at a rate that they can afford. Now, whether that is $500 or $5,000, it doesn't matter. The mere fact that you have come into my space, it means that it's something that you can afford. And so, from that perspective, I believe the homeowner that is just the homeowner for the sake of home ownership, but the homeowner who goes on to invest as an investor into real estate, I believe is a better person. But from a general point of view, if I'm just going to go and live in that home, then I'm actually neutral right there.
All right. Well,
All
all
right,
right.
you know, yeah,
I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it there. So
yeah,
don't
but
stick him
I
up.
just want,
I'm not trying to stick him up, Lady Elise.
I
I'm
know,
not
I
doing
just
that.
want to share, I just want to
Yes.
share that on the chat on YouTube, you have a viewer who says you can't lose off buying land too. And then she also says you can downsize when you become an empty nester.
Well, here's what my conversation was a while ago. And I'll just go directly to it. All right. So somebody rented a
You have
property.
30 seconds, Mike.
30 seconds for me. Thank you. Somebody rented a property. And this is where I'm going. For me, this has always been my thoughts. So I'm just telling you what my thoughts are this morning. Just wanted somebody to bounce it off and see where it would go, right? And this is the thought. For somebody who rented property for 12 months into a year, they would have paid at least $18,000 for 12 months at $1,500 per month. For 20 years, that person would pay $360,000 that they're not going to get back because they can't sell the property. The person who purchased the property for the same amount, $360,000 for the year, will sell the property and probably get a yield of maybe $400,000 leaving the Cayman Islands. Who would have invested more in the Cayman Islands is the question. The renter or the one who purchased? That's not a question I want anybody to answer this morning. I just want to place it on the table. When people say, who is the more qualified person who claims investment in the country? I just want to drop that there. And that's just my thoughts.
I want to thank our financial advisor this morning for coming up and sharing with us. Should we rent or should we purchase? And I'm sure that we have benefited from his presence. I want to say thank you, Richard. As usual, I needed to share with the listeners and the viewers how they can connect with you. They need some more information. They want to find out just a little bit more. And so I wanted to just share with them how they can connect with you, and then we can release you.
Okay, so my email address is broker@richardthelwell.com and the website richardthelwell.com. So again, broker, BROKER, at richardthelwell.com and the website is richardthelwell.com.
Well, here you have it. Of course, it is another beautiful breakfast hour morning. And of course, for those who didn't get any advice this morning, I'm sorry, guys. I probably took most of it anyhow. So this morning, for those who didn't get much of it, I went all out this morning to get all the advice I get because I am in the market of renting a little bit, and of course I'm in the market for also purchasing. And of course, it's important that we also acknowledge these two very important factors. But each of them operates in the space of convenience that would suit you best. So choose it as you will. It's a breakfast hour. Of course, another financial report this morning.
Yes, another very interesting conversation there from our financial advisor this morning. And I certainly am feeling blessed. And, I got a wealth of information that I plan to implement. It's past the time for the news, Mikey G.
Let me tell you. I could just add this piece. Oh, gee, how time flies when
you're having fun.
And I want to say this morning has been, I don't know if it's, I don't know. The news may be a little bit, I don't know. What do you think? I'm going to leave that one to you this morning. I don't know if you're thinking that we might benefit from doing the news now. I don't know.
Well, since you don't know, let's hear the news.
There it is. News time. Brought to you by Asai Ochiso.
Okay, I think my news is not using. While we sort out that technical issue with our news, let's.
Well, for me this morning, we have actually gone through so many different things this morning, and we talked about our financial benefits from renting this morning, and many persons who have come on who have listened to the conversation and realize how important it is for us to sometime rent versus purchasing a property at some point. But I'm sure that at some point it is much, like our advisor said this morning, that it is better to purchase, because then the benefits of purchasing at some point would be that you can actually offset your actual income and allow yourself to be somewhat free from actually being in the job market and actually become an entrepreneur in all of this. So it is a good place to be. And of course, I would say, for many persons who have probably heard it late and say, why didn't I do that 10 years ago? Here's the thing about doing that. It's the best time to do something is 10 years ago. The second best time is to actually do it right now. So why not start now? 10 years ago passed already, and now is an opportunity to start. So why not do it now?
Why not do it now? That's the question. That's the question indeed. I'm still trying to sort through the issue with the news, but while we're sorting through that, I think we got it now.
All right, fine. So it's time for the news. Of course, it's news time right here on Flashpoint. Of course, we are in the glitch. We apologize for the glitch. And of course, the news is on to the back and side of the sound for all the sound notes.
Good morning, listeners, and welcome to Flashpoint Radio's Breakfast Hour News Headlines. I am Coralie Karen. We begin with local news. According to Cayman Compass, Cayman Islands Premier Juliana O'Connolly recently returned from the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Samoa. The Premier met with key leaders, including the UK's Deputy Leader of the House of Lords, Lord Collins, to discuss shared goals for social justice and inclusion in the Cayman Islands. Premier O'Connolly also met King Charles III, who addressed the conference, emphasizing the critical issue of climate change and urging both governments and businesses to invest in climate resilience. Still in the Cayman Islands, a troubling report on Cayman's prison system highlights severe overcrowding and inadequate facilities at HMP Northwood. Director of Prisons Daniel Greaves confirmed that the men's facility, built to hold 167, now houses over 230 inmates. Inmates describe harsh conditions, and authorities are recognizing the urgent need for facility upgrades to improve living conditions and reduce recidivism. Still local, there's a call to reform cannabis laws following a case where 2 children fell ill after consuming cannabis-laced gummies. Leading attorney Richard Barton advocates for balanced legislation, particularly as Cayman prepares for a referendum on decriminalizing cannabis next April. Barton suggests policies such as amnesty bins for non-criminal cannabis imports to protect responsible users while ensuring child safety. On the matter of energy, Ofreg has announced rate hikes for Cayman residents who supply renewable energy to the grid through the CORE program. This increase aims to boost renewable energy participation as Cayman targets 30% renewable energy by 2030. Moving now to Jamaica. Minister Floyd Green assures consumers that despite recent setbacks, the nation will have ample chicken supplies for the Christmas season. Following coordinated efforts with industry partners, Green reports the poultry sector is rebounding and on track for a productive season. Still in Jamaica, the Prime Minister, Andrew Holness, announced major infrastructure developments for St. Thomas Parish, including new roads, a fire station, police station, and hospital upgrades, aiming for a complete transformation within 5 years. Still in Jamaica, travelers to Jamaica can also look forward to a new direct flight route from Nassau to Montego Bay, launching November 17th. This twice-weekly flight from Bahamas Air is expected to boost regional connectivity and tourism. Finally, in Antigua and Barbuda, activists are challenging colonial-era abortion laws that restrict women's reproductive rights. If successful, this landmark case could inspire legal changes across the Caribbean, sparking a broader conversation on women's rights and health care. Thank you for joining us for News Headlines. This is Flashpoint Radio. Stay with us for more updates throughout the day.
Yes, we want to thank Corey.
Always, I've listened to my piece on the news a while ago was on the idea of the chickens. Do we have enough chickens in Jamaica for the Christmas period? I don't know, man. Did we have enough vegetables? Did we have enough tomatoes and carrot and cabbage and stuff like that? I don't know. Plant cabbage. Some. Yeah. Yeah. Rainy night in Georgia. I feel like it's raining all over the world. All right, guys, if you see me and you can record it, you know that Michael G's here. This boy, yes, yeah. Well, thank you guys for joining. It has been a minute, It has been a breakfast. So we did not get to finish our conversation on the, whether or not, the church idea. I think we could come back tomorrow. Yeah, I think tomorrow we could frame that a little bit, continue that conversation a little bit, at least, just to bring some context to it. Bring part 2 of this conversation so it extends to where we need to have it. And of course, for those who are joining us today, guys, join us tomorrow morning. You can get a little bit more of that conversation. Is church still relevant today in our society? Do we, as Christians, do people have Christian values still need to be of Christian values? Yeah. Yes. Well, what we are looking at, like the Titanic, is a sinking church. It's a sinking church. Hold on. What we are looking at, like the Titanic, is a sinking church. And so we are wondering, will there be lifeboats on the Titanic on the sinking church, enough for everyone to be rescued. That's all I want to say this morning. Maybe come tomorrow morning, we'll have a conversation and continue it in that part. Of course, it has been a breakfast hour minute. And of course, we thank you for joining. And of course, we really appreciate you joining this morning. And of course, continue to stick and stay. Flashpoint continues 24 hours Flashpoint Radio on www.flashpointmedia.ky. Go right there. Our radio is playing all the time, 24 hours. Of course, the breakfast hour is on radio as well on our YouTube channel. And I think on our Facebook page at the same time. Of course, continue to stick and stay, guys. Have yourself a wonderful day. There it is. Ta-ta, guys. Have yourself a big one.